back to the Bourbon Barkeep. Curtis.
Oh, great to be here yet again.
You look great.
Thanks, man. Yeah, went to Vegas recently, about a month ago, and came back in the green. So I was like, God said I needed to buy something after that.
Yeah.
And this is what I picked. So
Yeah.
But thank you. You as well.
Of course.
A little cardigan, yeah.
Cardigan. I wouldn't call it cardigan season. I mean, it is frigid.
No.
At least today.
We're nearing the end of that, but milk
in
it
the
for all it's
basement-
worth.
In the basement, you need a little sweater weather.
Yeah, milk it for all it's worth, man.
So Patreon. I want to kick it off with that.
Okay.
I mean, you are blatant hot streak where YouTube, was it the YouTube curse or was it the YouTube jitters? Because you started out a little below 500 and Patreon has been what you've needed.
Yeah, probably a little bit of both. When I'm able to use Patreon and put something out, at that moment in time when I bet it as well, props become available. Your horizons broaden, if you will.
I get a lot of notifications. There's been a lot of prop bets and things like that, but ultimately the record is
21 and 12.
I mean, you
Made more than a few dollars.
Yeah.
But,
so
yeah.
I wanted to give you where credit's due because I gave you a little hard time when we were just
Yeah.
barely above water.
How are the turntables?
Yes.
Yeah.
So for all of you that are not aware, Patreon, for $5, you get access to the bets, our rankings, a few other things that are out there. So at this point, the $5 a month has paid for itself.
It sure has,
for some
yeah.
people. So we got that out of the way. Second tier, you do get samples, like a monthly drawing for samples and things like that. So if you do want to try things, that would be definitely the way. But the $5 a month should be a no-brainer, at least with betting in full swing, if not winding down.
Yeah, we like to think so.
So without further ado, our first Would You Reach was Little Book Chapter 7 against the Booker's Mighty Fine Batch.
Yes.
And
Smashing success.
for a small YouTube channel that did very well for us. And I know you really enjoyed it. We've been trying to schedule some of these tastings so we know what's happening, and then some we kind of ran into, like the Storyteller from last week, to where we just kind of kept sliding this one. I didn't want to because I know the people want to know the 18-year, is it worth it? So ultimately the gist of Would You Reach is you have two bottles, in this case the Knob 12 and the Knob 18. Knob 18 is $180.
Right.
That is
It's steep.
not cheap for most people's pockets at this point. The Knob 12,
75, right?
70, probably 75, maybe. I mean, Kansas, Missouri, so some pricing difference.
Sure.
This one's going to be regularly on the shelves, at least where I'm at. This one, not so much.
Right.
So when you see it, is it worth that reach, or do you just stick with something that could be potentially better?
So as you and I both know, that 12 is fantastic. Neither of us have tried that 18.
Yes.
So this is a great test for not only people watching, but us as well.
Well,
Would I ever buy the 18 again? Who knows?
we will find
We'll
out
find
shortly.
out here in about 10 minutes, yeah.
So the 12 was one of our best gifts in that $65, $70 range. If you haven't seen our best gifts, it's where recommendations are for family members, bosses, coworkers, things like that. Kind of had some fun with it, so go check that out if you have not. What we didn't do, which we'll do this time, is we actually didn't blind Little Book and Mighty Fine for
Right.
two reasons. One, we just kind of came up with it on a whim. And two, they were vastly different.
Right.
So we'll just kind of see how different they are or not different they are. But this one, I think we can do blind, so there isn't any, oh, this is the 18, should we like it more? Should we be harder on the 18? Things like that. So we're going to pour these blind, shuffle around. We aren't the brightest bulbs, so shuffling two glasses and being lost is not going to be.
No, we'll do some ring around the rosy and stuff too. So
Yeah.
when we get done, we will not know which one is which. Promise you that.
No. It does no one any good.
If
at
we
that
know.
point.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. We'll get to pouring.
Yes.
Be right back. Okay, so have our 12 and 18 poured. Do not know which one is which. We actually did sing Ring Around the Rosie and just switched them a bunch of times. You kind of fooled me a little bit there, but...
It did. It made sense in my mind, and then you said
Well,
it
yeah,
didn't.
and I'm like, all you got to do is switch them. It doesn't matter if you go, on top or whatever. But
Once again, we've reiterated, not the smartest bulbs.
no, that's fine. Yeah, my left is the same as your left, and
Yes.
right same as your right. But
And you'll know what we're tasting. So Knob Creek, just to give a brief overview, is one of the 4 small batches within the Jim Beam Distillery.
Okay.
They're with Knob, obviously, Basil Hayden, Booker's, and I'm missing someone, Baker's 7.
gotcha.
So this is kind of a small batch under the Jim Beam coaching tree, if you will.
Sure, yeah.
So whichever one of these is the 18, well, I guess Knob Creek was established, like their first bottle release was in 92. So to celebrate 30 years later, they released the Knob 18.
Okay.
So batch 1 came in that fancy wooden box. And then the Knob 12, that's been around. I don't know how long. But, I mean, 12
At least 12 years, yeah.
at least in the barrel, 12 years.
Sure.
Mash bill wise, we have 77% corn, 13% rye, 10% malted barley, and both of these are at 100 proof.
Okay.
So once again, going back to the Little Book, it was very blatant, like what was
Sure, yeah, you would be able to kind of taste the difference in heat and all that. So can't do that here.
correct.
Okay.
So without further ado, we can kick off our tasting chapter, if you will.
Would you reach?
Would you reach?
All right.
Episode 2.
Yeah. Start with
working title.
our right. Yeah, would you reach is fine.
Ooh, I got a special cheers for everybody tonight.
Oh, okay.
Not a rhyming one, but to all of you out there doing Elf on the Shelf, Godspeed.
Don't know what that is.
You know what Elf on the Shelf is?
Is it a father thing?
It's a Christmas thing.
Not familiar with that tradition.
Oh, as soon as this camera goes off, I'll tell you about it. It is a freaking nightmare.
I'm looking forward to it. Peanut?
Right.
A lot of peanut.
Go peanut?
Yeah.
I kind of have to dig for it. You know when like someone tells you something, like it does come through after you said it?
Well, and it kind of makes sense with Jim Beam. Like a lot of their stuff is kind of peanutty.
The rye comes through a bit more than what I would have expected at 13%. Like I do feel like I get maybe a touch of mint on the nose,
I can see that.
but I could still...
A lot of holiday spices.
Yeah, and I'm still going like a brown sugar, maybe a lighter brown sugar. This is a touch lighter than what I was
Sure,
kind
just
of
like
thinking.
a sprinkle on top.
I could live in this glass. This
Sure.
is a really nice nose. All right.
All right. We'll hit the table again just for good luck.
That's nice. I like that. I wouldn't...
Certainly don't mind it. Pretty simple.
It tastes at the 100 proof. I get oak, I mean, as you would imagine, but I didn't pull it out heavily on the nose.
Yeah, even with the 12, I would almost expect a little more.
Not horribly viscous. I mean, it sits on the tongue,
Kind of light and simple, yeah.
but I don't get a ton in the back of the throat, which always feels good to tell people.
Sure.
The hug is not super. I mean, it's not something. I mean, we're coming off of a Booker's
Yeah.
blind, so that doesn't probably help it. But ultimately, it's kind of an easy sipper.
Yeah,
I would
it's
say
really
highly
smooth.
drinkable.
Well, yeah, and like you said, we're coming from 127 proof last week to dialing it way down. So that could just be recency bias, but
I like it. I wouldn't say it stands out. So not knowing which one we're talking about, it's just a good pour.
okay.
Very traditional, something that I would feel good given to most people.
I hope that's not the 18.
Yeah, I
Am
would
I
have.
allowed to say that?
Yeah, I feel like you can.
Okay. I hope that's not the 18.
It does. It definitely was not a $180 experience.
No.
But it was very good.
Sure.
I get a little bit more.
I get more oak here.
I get more like a red fruit jam. It's maybe not like a fresh strawberry, but like a jammed.
Like with a bunch of sugar added?
Like a jammed. No, like a preserve maybe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You love your preserves.
Just being healthy, you know?
Right. They last forever. They preserve.
Is that true?
And they're called preserves.
It's true. Oh. This one, I still get a little bit more of the rye spice on there. Like I don't have a large difference between A and B.
I know they're both 100 proof. This one tastes like it has a little more punch to it.
Oh yeah, that is a much, much longer finish.
And also feels like, you used the word viscous a second ago, it feels like there's just like a little more substance to it. It's not near as light on the tongue for me. Like this, I mean, that was a light bourbon.
Yeah.
This isn't as much.
For both 100 proof, these drink vastly different. Like this one, you definitely have more of a Kentucky hug, so I would like people to know
it's a little darker too.
So like you actually brought the Knob 12 over for Thanksgiving, and the Knob 12 was too hot for my dad.
Which is, I mean, blasphemous, but.
So which one would you say you like more?
My left hand. There's more to it. Like we kind of discussed, it's just like a nice, simple, light, easy drinking bourbon. Would go good in a cocktail.
The drinkability is much higher on this one. So you're left, right? Is it mirrored?
Yeah, it's mirrored. Yeah.
So they're left. This one would be hot in like July, to where you're like, okay,
Right.
maybe. I don't know if I would sit there and say like a lower quality burn, but after having the smoothness of this, you're like, okay, so is it more harsh because it's lower tiered?
Sure.
For my drinking preference, I think I like the same one as you,
like
but
the
I could
left more.
see how this one would be more widely enjoyed.
Appreciated, yeah.
But when it came to price-wise, neither of these are worth $180. Enjoyable, not $180.
Nope.
All right,
So should we find out?
find out, and then we'll actually do scoring, so our senses, hug,
Yeah.
bang for the buck. For the Patreon, we do the extended episodes.
Yeah. My favorite is my left hand for sure. And I have a feeling it's going to be the 18 just in terms of complexity. But we'll see.
We shall see.
Right side first?
Right side first.
Cut. Yeah, that's 12.
That makes me feel a lot better.
And just to confirm, the 18 on the left. Yeah, the answer to our question, would you reach, is no for me.
I'm definitely a no.
Yeah.
That's nowhere near 180, especially knowing what's available out at that 90 price range.
Well, and just in terms of, you're just talking about these two bourbons, it's not near $100 better.
No, not even close.
I'd maybe pay an extra $20-$30 for it, maybe.
Yeah, that's where that it factor kind of comes in, where you're like, okay, it's an 18-year bourbon, but
Well, our question's been answered. So we're going to step away real quick. I'm going to grab my notebook and we'll grade. And then we'll bring it back in for a little wrap up, right?
yeah, sounds good.
Cool. Be right back.
All right, so we're tallied up. So for the Patreon community, you can kind of dive into our wrestling match between that 18 and 12. That bang for the buck really threw us for a loop because on one hand, we didn't think it was worth it, but we scored it decent.
Well, yeah, it was kind of like, I don't try a ton of $180 bourbons regularly.
It's true.
But the fact that the 18 we did kind of decide was significantly better,
So
kind of like helped it a little bit in the bang for the buck.
Yeah. So on one hand, the 18 tastes better than the 12, but not $110 more.
Sure.
So take that for what it is. If you regularly spend over $100 on a bottle, 18 is definitely a buy, but it's not 100 worth more.
Sure.
Yeah. So it's a good experience. It is really good. I don't think either fit into our top 5. I think maybe the 18s were 6th on our rankings, if I had to remember.
If the 18 was sitting there at 140, it would have cracked my top 5.
Yeah. So our
But
guys at
180,
Holiday hanging on to that top 5 spot. Good for you guys.
It's insane, yeah. Holiday is so good for $50, $55.
Absolutely.
But yeah, other than that, guys, like and subscribe. Thank you for joining us for our second Would You Reach. I would imagine we have a few more of these coming up in the next few months as well. You want to dive into our next Would You Reach, or is that a surprise?
There's a special Would You Reach for the New Year's Eve week. We'll just put it that way.
Okay. All right. That's a nice little hint.
Take that for what it is.
Yeah.
And so like, subscribe. We've seen a ton of new subscribers rolling in, so welcome to you all. Happy to have you. Hope you come back. But ultimately, we did our Patreon spiel, so outside of that.
Tell you, man. Tenab Creek.
F that elf on the shelf.